Hey, okay, so a couple of things. There's one of the channels that I follow on YouTube is the Juice Media. It's an Australian satire, as well as political and geopolitical uh, commentary and analysis channel. Now, the Juice Media, up till very recently, has been basically spot on. They give you sourced, uh, uh, respectable sourced, as well as digging into the actual, like, the government policies and the directly from the government or from the propaganda uh, institutions and so on and so forth. Institutions and so on and so forth that, like think tanks, like ASPE, or from those in the so-called corporate sectors, they're moneyed and so on and so forth, who push it, or the nefarious political operatives who are self-serving criminals who should be put in jail. But as I said, until recently, they've been spot on, and they were covering the AUKUS formation, and they brought on this and Giordano, the guy that created the channel. He has he does the geopolitical and domestically political analysis and commentary. Well, first, the honest government ads on AUKUS, they basically did something that I would not expect. These guys, these I consider to be the real leftists, the ones that aren't gonna until the AUKUS debacle from Juice Media. They, as I said, they're always spot on. They always give you sourced, responsible source material. Watch the honest government ad on AUKUS, and while they properly context what the U.S. and Australia and UK, U.S., Australia, and UK, the bullshit that they're pulling, they, however, shit all over China too. And the weird part is I think they know the accusations that they leveled against China. The weird part is I think they know it's not true. Judging by the previous videos that they've done about commentary and analysis on China, because they went after Xinjiang, they went after Taiwan, they went after Hong Kong, they went after the islands that the Chinese built on those reefs and other stuff. And the thing is there is actual responsible analysis that shows and demonstrates without a doubt that Chinese did this in reaction to the so-called freedom of navigation and other aggressive hostile actions the U.S. and UK and others were doing. This is primarily it started happening after Obama, during the Obama administration, when they did the pivot to Asia. So, and I can't remember correctly, but I believe that Juice Media actually did a video on that and got it right. So, and so these are up to then the true leftists that I feel that I felt they were true left. They weren't this this liberal, these neoliberals and these neocons, nor these so-called leftists and progressives. They didn't fear putting in things in the right context, in the right context, and basically right thinking. Not right, as in you lean to the political right, but I mean as in right, as in proper. So I want to push back on all that, and I want to say I am vastly disappointed in Juice Media for doing that. Now, Giordano actually brought on this so-called Australian professor of Chinese studies or something like that, and this guy had all the stereotypical establishment pro-Western nonsense, and Giordano and the Juice Media are usually very good at catching those, and very good at pushing back on such things. But there was none of that. There was absolutely none of that. So I gotta say, Jonah, I'm deeply disappointed with you and the Juice Media. All the work that you've done basically gets canceled because you're picking up the pro narratives. And even though I don't think you want a war with China, and I don't think you're trying to push, but the thing is that's the way it's going to be taken. And those that were on the fence, those who were starting to drift a little bit more to the left, you've done catastrophic damage. I believe, I saw a report recently, I think it was about Australia. I believe Australia is 90%, yeah, rah, let's go to war with China. And there's and it's 52% and rising in the U.S. and I believe it's almost 50% in Europe. So basically, the West is turning towards starting a war with China, and that is pure insanity, because that will turn into a nuclear war. It won't be because China wants to use nukes. It'll be because the only country who's ever used nukes, even though knowing that there was no need for it, and that is a point of historical fact and not something I'm just spouting. If you look at it, you'll see that it is a historical fact that the whole BS narrative that nukes needed to be used on Japan to stop the war with Japan is completely 100% bullshit. So that's where I'm going to end with Juice Media. But I want to address a quick comment back to Brian Berletic of New Atlas. Brian just put out a video about breaking points, Crystal and Saga, the two that were on the hill and walked away to start breaking points. But basically, the hill is a mainstream establishment. Crystal sounds left of left, but the problem I have with Crystal is that they would have DNC and RNC, and they would also have the Federalists, Breitbart, and other right-wing fascist so-called columnists and reporters and so on and so forth. And they would call them friends of the show. And then there's Ryan Grimm. They would call him friend of the show. And it just... And Cenk Uygur and all others. And the thing is originally when they first started getting aware of Ryan Grimm, I actually did not have a clear idea of who Ryan Grimm is, nor Cenk Uygur, and I bought into some of the stuff until I started to see certain things that were being said by Cenk Uygur and Ryan Grimm and some others that they brought in, and then there was a source stuff that Jimmy Dore and Grey Zone and others did on those two characters and a few others. And so I start to understand who they were, what they were, and I used to watch The Hill, but it was largely to watch Crystal, not Saga. I absolutely and utterly hated Saga from day one, being introduced to Saga from day one. Saga was employed by several of those right-wing fascist, racist, so-called news media, and for that, and the fact that what Saga continuously put in, even when he was on the Hill, and he's still doing it at breaking points, and the fact that Crystal has teamed up with him and often doesn't push back. She'll just quietly sit there, or she'll make these lame kind of pushbacks, but largely she doesn't. And so while I used to say I like Crystal, I gotta say I don't anymore. I don't believe her. I don't believe she can be consistent. I don't believe she has the ethical or moral boundaries to push back, and I don't believe she is passionate as she would like to frame herself. Saga, I just hate the guy. Absolutely hate him. Can't stand him. I comment constantly on The Hill, which I never subscribed to. Although there was one time where it said the hill popped up in my subscription, and I'm like, I didn't hit the subscribe button. All I did was watch and comment. So, anyways, when the news came out that they were moving to the breaking points, I was like, yeah, fuck that. So, Brian, I'm surprised with Brian because Brian is very. I respect him. I respect him a ton. And Brian Berletic of New Atlas, he just put out a video and he was like, I can't believe that Breaking Points and Crystal and Saga, who I thought was anti-imperialist and so on and so forth. So I'm kind of surprised that he said that. I mean, Saga has a track record of being violently and hostilely against China. More times than not that I heard even when he was on the Hill, Trump, because Trump did this and Trump did that, but he's like, Trump was he was he sounded very much pro Trump, and even when Crystal was talking about it, like he'd always put in these things which were completely off basis. Trump, don't get me wrong, Trump is an open fascist, and my definition of fascist is where business and politics are one and the same. And it's completely self-serving. Doesn't care about the ramifications. Doesn't care about the destruction. Doesn't have any ethics or morals or honesty or honor or any of that. Common things that we all share. But during the election period between Trump and Biden, which they weren't really a choice because didn't pick them, just like a lot of your congressmen and senators, you don't pick them. They get picked and then presented. So, and those are the choices that you're left with. One thing that practically nobody knows about is that there was a guy. He's a Native American. His name is Marx. I forget his last name, but he was running for the presidency, but you didn't hear about him. You didn't hear about him. No, and you didn't hear about a lot of others who were trying to run. And it doesn't matter if it's a presidency. It doesn't matter if it's your local Congress or senator. You don't hear about these. And the problem with the independent media on social is that because they don't know about it because the media doesn't. The establishment, corporate media doesn't tell them about it. So, and that's the nefarious dynamic that works. And it kind of works the same way with the same sort of thing, but it has to do with media. And the way the platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and all those others, that's how they engineer it. So that may be the thing, but it may also be that that Brian, I think you might have fallen into that hopium thing. You hope so much it's almost like a opium, but it's opium drug, but it's hopium, and you hope that Breaking Points was anti-imperialist and left-leaning, but that has never been the case. Never. Crystal, I think, I almost get the impression, and I'm not accusing, I'm just saying my impression is that Crystal is more of a show person, not a showman, not a real die in the wool person who stands for what she says she believes, which is a problem a lot of Westerners have, and that has largely to do with critical thinking. And critical thinking has never been a good thing, good evolving process in the West. And the history has been violent, has been ultra violent. And the susceptibility to taking what the leadership says, the so-called leadership said, whether it's during the times when there were monarchies and nobilities and so and aristocracy, or to today, it's been largely missing. The attack on education is an attack to destroy the resource and understanding and education and training to think critically, and so that you'll be more susceptible to the propaganda, which is pro money, pro wealth, pro land ownership, pro inequity. I've said it before. The Western governments and Western countries are run by con artists and rapacious, rapacious thugs and thieves, murderers and assassins and pillagers and plunderers. This is how it's run, and this self-serving evil ideology is unfortunately has infected a lot of places, and there's more excuse for countries like that are in Africa, in the Middle East, and in South America and Central, because when you're being attacked on societal, economic, political, and basically and military, you're gonna get defensive. You're gonna start to think in terms of force and deception and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not talking about all the Middle East. Saudi Arabia has always been Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Jordan, all these places that have these so-called kings. They've always been like this. But the ultimate point is that we need to try really hard, and it's difficult because there's a lot going on, there's a lot happening, and we have a tendency to jump around. And let's face it, even I have been susceptible to uh, the malignant malfeasance of disinformation, misinformation, spin, and propaganda. But we have to try to constantly grow and to come to terms and say, hey, I got it wrong. And I do that a lot. But I also work on making sure that I don't fall for it again. And that's difficult. It's difficult for everybody. But without that, we don't have critical thinking. We don't have critical understanding. Without that, we don't stand up for ourselves. And without that, we are led by the nose. And we fall for it. And we are the ones who pay ultimately, not the ones with the influence, the power, and money and control. It is always us. And when I talk about us, I'm talking about us collectively. I'm not talking. I don't care if you have darker skin or what they call black or those that are brown. I don't care if you're white or you look like me, or you're a woman or a man. I don't like using woman and man, but unfortunately, that is the accepted social norm. I actually would prefer just girl and boy because, let's face it, that's just a way that originally was just a gender definition, not a gender and as well as physical age of maturity and mental maturity. But they were interchangeable. It was acceptable back, but that's the other thing. That's the breakdown of critical thinking. The reason I have a problem with woman is because the man part on woe. So, all right, I'll end it on that. Thanks.